สวัสดีค่ะ Hello and welcome to ASEAN Challenge, the show to give you the latest headlines, hot topics, and updates happening around your ASEAN community in two languages, Thai and English. I'm Rosalyn Tepawan.
And I'm Alisa สิทธิวงศ์ขอต้อนรับคุณผู้ชมทุกท่านเข้าสู่รายการ ASEAN Challenge ค่ะข่าวสารรอบอาเซียนของเราทั้งภาษาอังกฤษและภาษาไทย
And starting off with ASEAN around us, let's take a look at a huge trend. You could say bridging the gaps between our ASEAN community, and that is the development of the China Belt and Road Initiative that's supposed to deepen the economic connections between China and the rest of Asia and Southeast Asia. This project has really just expanded to so many countries around our ASEAN community, but today we're going to look at how this project has taken a step into Myanmar, but sometimes at a cost, a big one at that as well.
That's right. So therefore, of course, special economic zones, of course, do promote economic trade between different countries and areas altogether. But however, as you mentioned, of course, it does come with a cost. Now, the one here in Myanmar itself, the economic zone in which the special economic zone called Chao Phiu, in which is in Myanmar. Now, this one has been developed by China. But what happened is that up to 20,000 villagers have been removed from their ancestral lands, and hundreds of fishermen have been blocked from fishing in nearby waters, and thousands of people have been left jobless as well. This is an impact from the China-led $10 billion industrial project.
Right, this project itself will span around 480 miles across Myanmar to southwest China. It's going to form a crucial part of this Belt and Road project that we just talked about, but it comes at a cost. They're trying to form lots of pipelines, for example, pumping oil throughout these 480 or so miles across this area. But as you mentioned, the setback and the obstacle is what's going to happen to this fishing community that's been fishing here for so long. So far, they said the weekly income from fishing had dropped by 2/3 nearly for at least several fishermen.
That's right. So according to China state-run SciTech Group, the main developer of the special economic zone, it says that they're trying to create an economic hub similar to Singapore, providing hundreds of thousands of jobs in the northwestern state of Rakhine, one of Myanmar's poorest regions. But many local residents say that the project is being rushed through without consultation or regard to the way of life of people, and as well as consideration to the environment as well. So there's an issue that needs to be in concern. However, internal planning documents reviewed by Reuters and interviews with officials show work on contracts and land acquisition has already begun before the completion of studies on the impacts of local people and the environment. So that's an issue, as mentioned, comes at a cost.
Right, very controversial project indeed to rush across without the proper trials and procedures, especially the economic or rather environmental impact. Not just that alone, but also the impact on the community as well. A local camp, for example, has been set up for internally displaced people after violence broke out between Muslims and Buddhists in Rakhine State in 2012. So these internally displaced people, or disadvantaged people as well, have been living in this local camp, but that is going to change because the project also runs through this camp as well. So perhaps people going through dire problems are going to face even more dire problems because this place is on the list to be relocated as well.
That's right. But according to SciTech themselves, they also have more promises besides jobs as well. They also say that they're going to build a vocational school providing training for skilled needs by companies in the economic zones, and as well as had said that it has given $1.5 million to local villages in order to develop businesses. So Chinese investors say that they also plan to spend another $1 million during the first 5 years of the development, and continuing on to spend $500,000 per year after in order to improve the local living standards.
Right, but at the same time, we have a bit of a push and shove here, a tug of war, because many local people have developed distrust for Chinese investors in the country since, for example, there had been a lot of public hostility occasions in the past because of other environmental concerns and much, much more. And because of that, a lot of these projects in the past in Myanmar had been derailed because of this distrust. Mega projects had been closed because of public hostility. So at the same time, many are concerned that the Chinese investors may end up hiring Chinese workers instead.
That's right. So nevertheless, of course, usually special economic zones like this should be something that provides a lot of benefits or a win-win situation for both countries. Of course, it is very important that, of course, impact assessments need to be made in order to know how it's actually going to impact the environment and the people around them as well.
Right.
So we'll need to keep you posted on how this unravels up.
Definitely on an economic and environmental impact, but also there are political impacts as well. In this project, it's quite significant and important for Aung San Suu Kyi, the leader of Myanmar, because not only does she have to prove that the first year, for example, in office has been productive in terms of reform, this will also prove that her first year had been productive on an economic win front. Also, there's another kind of socio-political challenge because the border Myanmar shares with China had been sparked by a lot of fighting in the past. So this project could bridge the gap and also ease that tension as well along the border, going towards the peace process and reform.
That's right. So as you mentioned, of course, Aung San Suu Kyi does have a little bit to prove that she has and her government has done some benefits for the country, of course, in which we've, in the past, of course, in terms of Rakhine State and in terms of the minority Muslim groups, and there was a lot of issues concerning that. So therefore, hopefully this will bring her government back up into pace.
Indeed, that's right. มาดูกันนะคะในประเทศพม่าขณะนี้นะคะประเทศจีนก็พยายามที่จะผลักดันโปรเจกต์ One Belt and Road Initiative ซึ่งเป็นโปรเจกต์ที่จะเชื่อมประเทศจีนกับประเทศ Southeast Asia หรือว่าอาเซียนนั่นเองโดยเฉพาะประเทศพม่านะคะในขณะนี้ให้มีการเชื่อมทางด้านเศรษฐกิจมากขึ้นแต่ว่ามีโปรเจกต์หนึ่งนะคะที่สร้างความพูดว่าปัญหานิดนึงนะคะในประเทศพม่าโดยเฉพาะบางจุดที่เชื่อมต่อโปรเจกต์นี้ค่ะ
ใช่แล้วค่ะนี่ก็คือเขตเศรษฐกิจพิเศษเจ้าผิวนั่นเองนะคะก็ถือว่าประเทศจีนก็เป็นผู้ลงทุนรายใหญ่ในโปรเจกต์นี้นะคะแต่ว่าเหตุที่ทำให้เป็นสิ่งที่น่ากังวลสำหรับคนประเทศเมียนมาเองนั่นเองนะคะก็คือเพราะว่าชาวบ้านจำนวนถึง 20,000 คนเลยทีเดียวนะคะก็ต้องย้ายออกจากที่ถือว่าเป็นแหล่งถิ่นกำเนิดของพวกเขาเลยนอกจากนี้นะคะชาวประมงก็หลายร้อยคนนะที่ไม่สามารถที่จะทำงานในบริเวณแม่น้ำใกล้เคียงตรงนั้นแล้วก็มีอีกตั้งหลายพันคนที่ก็ไม่มีงานทำหลังจากที่มีการก่อสร้างบนบริเวณนี้เช่นเดียวกันค่ะ
ใช่ค่ะบริเวณนี้ก็ยาวประมาณ770กิโลเมตรนะคะซึ่งจะสร้างตัว pipeline เนี่ยค่ะในอนาคตระหว่างประเทศจีนกับประเทศพม่าซึ่งในขณะนี้โปรเจกต์นี้ก็ได้รับการอนุมัติโดยที่ยังไม่ได้ทำการแบบ evaluation เรื่องสิ่งแวดล้อมแบบสำเร็จด้วยนะคะเพราะฉะนั้นคนท้องถิ่นก็เป็นห่วงเรื่องนี้มากๆด้วยเช่นกัน
ถูกต้องค่ะแต่อย่างไรก็ตามนะคะโปรเจกต์นี้ก็ถือว่าเป็นใจความสำคัญเลยทีเดียวระหว่างประเทศทั้งพม่าแล้วก็จีนนะคะก็สามารถที่จะสร้างความสัมพันธ์ระหว่างทั้งสองประเทศได้อย่างรวดเร็วนอกจากนี้นะคะก็สำคัญสำหรับรัฐบาลของนางองซานซูจีด้วยในการยกระดับบทบาทของตนในฐานะผู้นำเอเชียตะวันออกเฉียงใต้อีกต่างหากค่ะมันก็จะมีประเด็นหลายอย่างที่ทางไซเทคบริษัทของจีนเนี่ยค่ะที่เป็นผู้นำในการทำโปรเจกต์เนี่ยก็ได้สัญญาไว้กับทางพม่าไม่ว่าจะเป็นการสร้างอาชีพ 100,000 ตำแหน่งให้กับคนในบริเวณนั้นนะคะแล้วก็จะสร้างโรงเรียนการฝึกฝนให้กับคนในบริเวณนั้นด้วยนอกเหนือจากนั้นนะคะก็จะมีการฉีดเงินเพื่อช่วยเหลือด้วยแต่ก็อย่างไรก็ตามนะคะก็ยังมีประเด็นเรื่องเกี่ยวกับชาวประมงคนที่อยู่ในพื้นที่แล้วสิ่งแวดล้อมที่อยู่บริเวณนั้นตอนนี้
ใช่ค่ะจริงๆแล้วก็มีทั้งดีทั้งเสียนะคะเราก็มาดูกันว่าในอนาคตจะมีการพัฒนายังไงบ้างซึ่งในขณะนี้คนท้องถิ่นก็เป็นห่วงเหมือนกันว่าหลังจากพัฒนาโปรเจกต์นี้โครงการนี้แล้วจะจ้างคนจีนมาทำงานหรือว่าจะเป็นคนท้องถิ่นด้วยเช่นกันแล้วก็คอยติดตามดูกันไปค่ะ
As for now let's take a short break and we'll be back for more news updates coming soon Welcome back to the program and on to ASEAN hot issues. We have some news updates coming around from the ASEAN bloc, starting off from the Singapore, in which Singapore has detained its first, we can say, woman citizen suspect of Islamic radicalism. So Singapore on Monday, June the 12th, has detained an assistant childcare worker aged 22, in which, of course, is believed to have involvements in the IS.
Right, her name is her difficult name here is pronouncing wrong here. Sayaka Iza Zahra al-Ansari, age 22, was accused of or suspected of links to Islamic terrorism here. She was trying to make a call to travel to Syria in order to marry a Syrian husband, and she had been detained trying to make her way to Syria here to join the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, with her child in tow as well. This is coming from the Ministry of Home Affairs here, saying that in a statement that Iza had been detained under the Internal Security Act. This law itself had been a colonial-era law, allowing authorities to detain anyone they see as a threat to security for up to 2 years. So this is the detention of the first Singaporean woman with suspected links to Islamic radicalism.
That's right. So the detention of the first Singaporean woman for suspected Islamist radicalism comes as concern is growing about the spread of Islamic State in the region. Singapore and its neighbors recently began intelligence cooperation aimed at stemming the movement of militants across their borders. And Singapore has reiterated over the past year that it is a target of Islamist groups and has urged the public to be alert.
Right. Singapore is one ASEAN country that's laws are considered some of the most stringent, you could say.
Yes.
So for this act to happen has been quite a surprise in Singapore.
ใช่แล้วค่ะ มาดูกันในส่วนข่าวแรกของอาเซียนฮอตอิชชูนะคะมากันที่ประเทศสิงคโปร์ค่ะซึ่งทางการสิงคโปร์ได้ควบคุมตัวหญิงสาววัย 22 ปีค่ะซึ่งถือว่าเป็นที่ต้องสงสัยการถือว่าฝักใฝ่ในแนวคิดของกลุ่ม IS นะคะแล้วก็ถือว่าเป็นผู้ต้องสงสัยผู้หญิงรายแรกตั้งแต่ทางภาครัฐของสิงคโปร์นะคะก็ได้มีความเข้มงวดมากขึ้นต้องในส่วนของหัวรุนแรงเมื่อปี 2558 ค่ะ
ค่ะก็นับว่ากฎหมายของสิงคโปร์ก็เป็นประเทศหนึ่งที่ค่อนข้างจะเข้มงวดมากๆถ้าเทียบกับอาเซียนประเทศอื่นๆนะคะซึ่งการที่ได้จับตัวผู้หญิงคนแรกที่มีส่วนเกี่ยวข้องกับ ISIS นะคะก็เป็นข่าวที่น่าตกใจสำหรับประเทศสิงคโปร์ซึ่งก็ใช้กฎหมายที่อยู่มาเป็นหลายร้อยปีนะคะซึ่งก็อนุมัติให้เจ้าหน้าที่ได้จับตัวผู้ต้องสงสัยนะคะที่มีส่วนเกี่ยวข้องกับความปลอดภัยของประเทศได้ถึง2 ปีเลยค่ะ
All right, moving on to the Philippines now, in which Duterte, Philippines president, says that he did not seek U.S. support in any of the city siege. So this occurred on Sunday, June 11th, in which he had said himself that he did not seek support from Washington to end the siege of the southern Philippine town by Islamist militants, a day after the United States said it was providing technical assistance at the request of the government.
Right. This comes at a time where the Philippines is facing many difficulties around the southern area of Mindanao, for example, with special focus right now on Marawi City, where recently conflicts had broken out, resulting in lots of deaths from both sides here. Now, the U.S. had, you could say, really come under fire in the Philippines right now because the cooperation between longtime allies has been undermined by Duterte, seeing that trying to move to eject U.S. military trainers and much more from Washington, the U.S.
That's right. So when the situation happened and asking about U.S. support, Duterte was like he was not aware of it until they arrived, actually.
Oh, wow. So that's quite a surprise, showing up and then being aware.
That's right. มาดูกันในส่วนข่าวที่2ค่ะทางประธานาธิบดีของฟิลิปปินส์ค่ะโรดริโก ดูเตเต้นะคะก็ได้กล่าวว่าไม่เคยขอความช่วยเหลือจากสหรัฐอเมริกาค่ะต่อการสู้รบกลุ่มติดอาวุธเมาเตในเมืองมาราวีนะคะหลังจากที่ทางรัฐบาลของวอชิงตันของสหรัฐเนี่ยค่ะก็ได้ส่งหน่วยรบพิเศษลงพื้นที่เมื่อปลายสัปดาห์ที่แล้วก็ทางดูเตเต้ก็บอกว่าไม่ทราบมาก่อนเลยเพิ่งมารับทราบตอนที่มาถึงแล้ว
ขนาดนั้นเลยนะคะก็นับว่าในขณะนี้ความสัมพันธ์ระหว่างอเมริกากับฟิลิปปินส์ก็ค่อนข้างจะตึงนิดนึงเพราะว่าทางหัวหน้าประเทศฟิลิปปินส์ก็ไม่ค่อยต้อนรับนะคะคนจากวอชิงตันกับอเมริกาซึ่งเราก็จะคอยจับดูการพัฒนาระหว่าง2ประเทศนี้ในอนาคตค่ะโดยเฉพาะในประเทศฟิลิปปินส์เหตุการณ์ยังร้อนแรงอยู่เหมือนเดิมค่ะ
ต้องค่ะ Alright, moving back to news from Myanmar, in which a plane, of course, there was an accident in which occurred, and 29 bodies from a missing Myanmar military plane have been rediscovered and taken ashore. So rescue started from about last week, of course, in which the plane itself was coming from the southern parts of Myanmar heading towards Yangon, the capital city. And what happened was that there was an accident and there was debris that was found on the plane, which was about 14 miles away from the area of Langlon town where they found it.
Right, the death toll has risen now to beyond 30 according to the recent figures here, but altogether the total passengers on board were 122. So still, there have been no reports of any survivors so far, but still officials are still trying to search for any survivors. So far, 108 military personnel were on board, family members as well, and 14 crew members. They had lost contact, as you mentioned. And still, this kind of situation coming from a military plane has been quite surprising, happening around Tawai City.
That's right. So what happened was the plane took off from the airbase located in Miak, which is in the southern parts of Myanmar, at 1:06 p.m. local time. When it reached a height of 18,000 feet, or approximately 5,400 meters, at about 1:35 p.m., and then it lost contact with ground at a location 32 kilometers west of Dawoy and went missing. Then the aircraft was on a round-trip transport mission along the Yangon-Miak-Pok route.
Right, indeed. And so, as we can see in the upcoming footage here, family members have been coming to pray for their family members on the plane as the search for the missing planes continued, as you saw earlier on. We'll keep you posted on any more positive discoveries or any kind of developments from that stage. But altogether, since the beginning, they have continued their searches.
ใช่แล้วค่ะกลับมาที่ประเทศเมียนมากันค่ะซึ่งก็มีการกู้ร่างเหยื่อเครื่องบินทหารพม่านะคะซึ่งตกอันดามันได้อีก29รายด้วยกันค่ะก็ในขณะนี้นะคะหน่วยกู้ภัยก็กำลังพยายามที่จะค้นพบผู้เสียชีวิตหรือว่าร่างของคนที่ตกจากเครื่องบินนะคะซึ่งตกทางทะเลอันดามันนะคะปัจจุบันก็ได้ประมาณ 29-30 คนแล้วนะคะก็ซึ่งเครื่องบินลำนี้นะคะก็บรรทุกผู้โดยสารและลูกเรือทั้งหมด122คนส่วนใหญ่ก็เป็นทหารแล้วก็ครอบครัวค่ะก็ได้ตกลงในทะเลอันดามันเมื่อวันพุธที่ขออภัยค่ะวันที่7มิถุนายนนี้นั่นเองค่ะ
ขณะนี้ก็ยังไม่ค้นพบคนที่รอดนะคะชีวิตจากเหตุการณ์นี้แต่ว่าหลังจากที่เครื่องบินได้ขึ้นจากเมียกนะคะแอร์เบสตั้งแต่บ่ายโมงก็ไม่ถึงครึ่งชั่วโมงก็ได้หายสับสนไปจากเรดาร์เลยค่ะซึ่งขณะนี้เจ้าหน้าที่ก็ยังพยายามหาเหตุผลอยู่ว่าเป็นเพราะอะไร
ค่ะ That's right. So we'll keep you posted on that if there's any more updates. In the meantime, moving on to the Philippines, in which recently had celebrated their Independence Day on June the 12th. However, with a little bit of in the southern city, a little bit of tension where they've been celebrating. So they're singing and they're listening to speeches, but however in a little bit of a tense atmosphere.
Right. Well, a little change of heart here on a different note, a lighter one at that. The representatives of the Philippine government, for example, the Philippine Foreign Affairs Ministry Secretary Alan Peter Cayetano had joined the rites instead of Duterte, who had not been feeling well due to fatigue. But that's the official leading the ceremonies here to boost the morale of various people who had undergone difficulties in Marawi.
That's right. So therefore, of course, still having to celebrate their Independence Day, at least 58 security forces in this area itself. As mentioned, that it was like a little bit of a tense area in the southern parts of the city, which at least 58 security forces have been killed in intense street battles, and daily government airstrikes in Marawi happened after Islamist militants overran the city on May 23rd, which more than 100 rebels and 20 civilians have also died, according to the military.
Right. The Philippines is stepping up their security forces. Duterte warned people about the possible incursions of ISIS in Southeast Asia. He told countries to cooperate, allied countries perhaps not referring to the United States this time, but altogether, here you see 100 meters from the park, thousands of activists actually protesting against Washington's intervention in Marawi as well, coupled with this ceremony.
That's right ค่ะมาดูกันในส่วนของฟิลิปปินส์ค่ะกลับมาที่ประเทศฟิลิปปินส์ซึ่งได้ฉลองวันประกาศเอกราชนั่นเองนะคะก็ทางฟิลิปปินส์ก็ได้ฉลองเมื่อวันจันทร์ที่12มิถุนายนที่ผ่านมาค่ะก็ถือว่าเป็นบรรยากาศของความกังวลต่อภัยก่อการร้ายพอสมควรนะคะเพราะว่าเหตุการณ์ที่ประเทศฟิลิปปินส์ก็ยังมีประเด็นเรื่องก่อการร้ายอยู่พอสมควรค่ะก็ได้มีการร่วมร้องเพลงชาตินะคะแล้วก็ฟังคำปราศัยเนื่องในวันประกาศเอกราชของฟิลิปปินส์เมื่อวันจันทร์ที่12ที่ผ่านมาท่ามกลางเสียงระเบิดแล้วก็เสียงปืนสลับกันเป็นระยะนั่นเองค่ะ
ใช่ก็เห็นว่าท างรัฐมนตรีต่างประเทศของประเทศฟิลิปปินส์ก็ได้เป็นหัวหน้าผู้นำกิจกรรมวันนี้นะคะซึ่งทางหัวหน้าใหญ่ดูเทเต้นะคะก็ไม่สบายก็เลยไม่ได้มีโอกาสได้มาแต่ก็มีการเฉลิมฉลองในเวลาเดียวกันนะคะเพื่อที่จะกระตุ้น morale boosting นะคะให้กับต่างประเทศคนในประเทศพร้อมกับการประท้วงเช่นกันพร้อมกันเลยค่ะ
ในเวลาเดียวกันเลยทีเดียว
ใช่ค่ะ
มาดูกันที่ประเทศเมียนมาหรือว่าพม่าค่ะกลับมาดูตรงนี้นะคะ Back to Myanmar now in which the government has reclaimed Yangon housing areas from squatters. Now this has been let's say a policy in which Aung San Suu Kyi has mentioned that will happen under her government, but however Myanmar has decided to started to take action on the housing areas from squatters, so destroying around 100 houses in the suburbs of Yangon on Monday, June the 12th. Of course, this did create quite a bit of dissatisfaction from the people living in those areas. Of course, some people did protest or did not, we can say, leave the area voluntarily, as mentioned.
They believe the house actually was bought rightfully by them and belongs to them legally from the estate agents, but altogether in protest they had razed, altogether houses and tents in that area. Thousands of houses had been built illegally as well, so every house had been a victim of this project. Workers' houses were razed altogether to the ground. Officials from the housing department said the area would be used for government initiatives as a huge housing development project, including a hospital and golf club, are underway, as well as a highway as well.
That's right. So you mentioned that a lot of people bought this house assuming or thinking that it was legal, but actually wasn't illegal. A total in the area all around had 4,000 houses, temples, and temporary schools, currently occupying a total area of about 1,453 acres in the suburbs of Yangon. So that's quite a lot of area, or a lot of houses located there.
Right, so we can expect perhaps 4,000 houses, temples, and schools altogether to be razed to the ground as the land reclamation project continues. But you could say on a positive note, the government says they will not charge people living there for trespassing.
That's right. So we'll have to see how that goes on in terms of the measurements to reclaim the area there.
Right.
มาดูกันในส่วนข่าวที่เมียนมากันบ้างนะคะก็มาดูในส่วนของเจ้าหน้าที่รัฐบาลของยังกุ้งค่ะก็ถือว่ามีหลายร้อยคนเลยทีเดียวที่ได้เข้าไปรื้อชุมชนแออัดทางตอนเหนือของเมืองแยงกอนหรือว่าย่างกุ้งนั่นเองค่ะโดยที่มีตำรวจพร้อมอาวุธเข้าไปจับกุมผู้ที่ขัดขวางทั้งหมด6คนค่ะก็เป็นการเริ่มต้นรื้อชุมชนแออัดครั้งยิ่งใหญ่ครั้งแรกของรัฐบาลของอังซานซูจีเลยทีเดียว
ใช่ค่ะเป็นเมืองย่างกุ้งนะคะก็นับว่ามีคนเยอะมากที่สุดในประเทศเมืองหนึ่งนะคะซึ่งหลายคนก็เชื่อว่าเป็นที่ดินที่เขาอยู่มานานแล้วแต่รัฐบาลก็ยังจะ move forward นะคะเพื่อที่จะยึดที่ดินคืนซึ่งทั้งหมดก็มีมากกว่า 4,000 บ้านครัวเรือนเนี่ยแล้วก็พร้อมกับวัดแล้วก็โรงเรียนนะคะที่จะถูกยึดคืนด้วย
ถูกต้องค่ะก็เป็นนโยบายของทางรัฐบาลนะคะเราต้องติดตามดูกันว่าจะเกิดอะไรขึ้นในอนาคตอีกต่อไปค่ะ
But meanwhile, we'll take a short break. When we come back, on a lighter note of things, holidays and special occasions coming up in our ASEAN calendar. Stay tuned for that.
พักกันสักครู่ค่ะ
Welcome back to the show, into ASEAN calendar now. Lots of highlights coming up ahead around your ASEAN block.
ค่ะกลับเข้าสู่รายการ ASEAN Challenge ค่ะในช่วงนี้ไปดูกันว่ามีอีเวนต์อะไรกำลังจะเกิดขึ้นบ้างค่ะ
Ramadan. Ramadan is the 9th month of the Islamic calendar. It's observed by Muslims worldwide as a month of fasting to commemorate the first revelation of the Quran to Muhammad, according to Islamic belief. This annual observance is regarded as one of the 5 pillars of Islam. The month lasts 29 to 30 days based on the visual sightings of the crescent moon. This is according to numerous biographical accounts compiled in the hadiths. The word Ramadan comes from the Arabic roots, meaning scorching heat or dryness. Fasting is obligatory for adult Muslims, except for those suffering from an illness, who are traveling, are elderly, pregnant, breastfeeding, are diabetic, chronically ill, or menstruating. Fasting the month of Ramadan was made obligatory during the month of Shaban, in the second year after the Muslims migrated from Mecca to Medina. Fatwas have been issued declaring that Muslims who live in the regions with a natural phenomenon, such as the midnight sun or polar night, should follow the timetable of Mecca. But the more commonly accepted opinion is that Muslims in those areas should follow the timetable of the closest country to them, in which night can be distinguished from day. While fasting from dawn until sunset, Muslims refrain from consuming food, drinking liquids, smoking, and engaging in sex. Muslims are also instructed to refrain from sinful behavior that may negate the rewarding of fasting, such as false speech, like insulting, backbiting, cursing, and lying, and fighting, except in self-defense. Food and drinks are served daily before dawn and after sunset, referred to as suhoor and iftar respectively. Spiritual rewards for fasting are believed to be multiplied within the month of Ramadan. Fasting for Muslims during Ramadan typically includes the increasing offering of prayers, recitation of the Quran, and an increase of good deeds and charity. International Albinism Awareness Day. People with albinism face multiple forms of discrimination worldwide. Albinism is still profoundly misunderstood socially and medically. The physical appearance of people with albinism is often the object of erroneous beliefs and myths influenced by superstition that foster their marginalization and social exclusion. This leads to various forms of stigma and discrimination. In some communities, erroneous beliefs and myths, heavily influenced by superstition, put the security and lives of people with albinism at constant risk. These beliefs and myths are centuries old and are present in cultural attitudes and practices around the world. On December 18, 2014, the General Assembly adopted a resolution proclaiming, with effect from 2015, on the 13th of June, as International Albinism Awareness Day. The United Nations Human Rights Council adopted a resolution in 2013 calling for the prevention of attacks and discrimination against albinos. Moreover, in response to the call from civil society organizations advocating the consideration of people with albinism as a specific group with particular needs requiring special attention, on March 26, 2015, the Council created the mandate of independent expert on the enjoyment of human rights by albinos. In January 2016, a United Nations independent expert on the enjoyment of human rights of people with albinism has submitted her report on albinism to the UNHRC.
World Blood Donor Day, 14th of June 2017. Every year on the 14th of June, countries around the world celebrate World Blood Donor Day, or WBDD. The event serves to raise awareness of the need for safe blood and blood products and to thank blood donors for their life-saving gifts of blood. Blood is an important resource, both for planned treatments and urgent interventions. It can help patients suffering from life-threatening conditions live longer and with a higher quality of life. This supports complex medical and surgical procedures. Blood is also vital for treating the wounded during emergencies of all kinds, natural disasters, accidents, armed conflicts, and so forth, and has essential life-saving roles in maternal and perinatal care. A blood service that gives patients access to safe blood and blood products in sufficient quantity is a key component to an effective health system. Ensuring safe and sufficient blood supplies requires the development of a nationally coordinated blood transfusion service based on voluntary, non-remunerated blood donations. However, in many countries, blood services face the challenge of making sufficient blood available, while also ensuring its quality and safety. Focus of this year's campaign. The lives and health of millions of people are affected by emergencies every year. In the last decade, disasters have caused more than 1 million deaths, with more than 250 million people being affected by emergencies every year. Natural disasters such as earthquakes, floods, and storms create considerable needs for emergency health care, while at the same time often destroying vital health facilities as well. Man-made disasters such as road accidents and armed conflicts also generate substantial healthcare demands and the need for frontline treatment. Blood transfusion is an essential component of emergency health care. Emergencies increase the demand for blood transfusion and make its delivery challenging and complex. Adequate supply of blood during emergencies require a well-organized blood service, and this can only be ensured by engaging the entire community and a blood donor population committed to voluntary unpaid blood donation throughout the year. This year's campaign will focus on blood donation in emergencies. In crisis or emergency situation, the natural human response is, "What can I do? How can I help?" Therefore, the slogan for the 2017 campaign is, "What can you do?" with the secondary message, "Give blood, give now, give often." The campaign underlines the role every single person can play in helping others in emergency situations by giving the valuable gift of blood. It also focuses on the fact that it is important to give blood regularly, so that the blood stock is sufficient before an emergency arises. The objectives of this year's campaign: to encourage all people to strengthen the emergency preparedness of health services in their community by donating blood, to engage authorities in the establishment of effective national blood donor programs with the capacity to respond promptly to the increase in blood demand during emergencies, to prompt the inclusion of blood transfusion services in national emergency preparedness and response activities, to build wider public awarenesses of the need for committed, year-round blood donation in order to maintain adequate supplies and achieve a national self-sufficiency of blood, to celebrate and thank individuals who donate blood regularly, and to encourage young people to become new donors as well, to promote international collaboration and to ensure worldwide dissemination of and consensus on the principles of voluntary, non-remunerated donation, while increasing blood safety and availability. The host country for the global event of World Blood Donor Day 2017 is Vietnam. World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. The global population of people aged 60 years and older will more than double, from 542 million in 1995 to about 1.2 billion in 2025. Around 4 to 6% of the elderly people have experienced some form of maltreatment at home. Elder maltreatment can lead to serious physical injuries and long-term psychological consequences. The incidence of abuse towards older people is predicted to increase as many countries are experiencing rapidly aging populations. Elder abuse is a global social issue which affects the health and human rights of millions of older persons around the world, and an issue which deserves the attention of the international community. The United Nations General Assembly, in its Resolution 66/127, designated June 15th as World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. It represents the one day in the year when the whole world voices its opposition to the abuse and suffering inflicted to some of our older generations. June 18th, Cambodia Queen Mother's Day. Cambodia annually celebrates Queen Mother's birthday on June 18th. This national holiday celebrates the birthday of Queen Mother Norodom Mononith. Norodom Mononith, born as Paul Munich Izzy, was born on June 18, 1936 in Saigon, French Indochina, present-day Vietnam. Her father, Jean-François Izzy, was a French banker, and her mother, Pom Peng, was born in Phnom Penh, the capital of Cambodia. Mononith had a good education, and towards the 1960s, she became the president of Cambodian Red Cross. King of Cambodia Norodom Sihanouk married her in 1952. She gave birth to two sons, Norodom Sihamoni in 1953 and Norodom Narindrapong in 1954. Her oldest son is an acting king of Cambodia. The Cambodians love Norodom Mononith very much. Her birthday is an official day off. On this day, people pray for the health of their Queen Mother and visit Buddhist temples. There are no parades or public events on this day, but traditional arts performances and a great display of fireworks are organized in Phnom Penh. June 20th, World Refugee Day. In a world where violence forces hundreds of families to flee each day, the UN Refugee Agency believes now is the time to show world leaders that the global public stands with refugees, and it will launch its #WithRefugees petition on June 20th to send a message to governments that they must work together and do their fair share for refugees. The #WithRefugees petition will be delivered to UN headquarters in New York ahead of the UN high-level meeting on refugees and migrants, scheduled for the 19th of September. The petition asks governments to ensure every refugee child gets an education, ensure every refugee family has somewhere safe to live, ensure every refugee can work or learn new skills to make a positive contribution to their community. World Refugee Day has been marked on the 20th of June ever since the UN General Assembly on the 4th of December 2000 adopted Resolution 55/76, where it noted that 2001 marked the 50th anniversary of the 1951 Convention relating to the status of refugees, and that the Organization of African Unity, or OAU, had agreed to have International Refugee Day coincide with Africa Refugee Day on the 20th of June. June 26th to June 30th, Lebaran Holiday. Hari Raya Idul Fitri, or Lebaran, is an Indonesian public holiday that allows Muslims to celebrate the end of Ramadan with their family members. Lebaran is one of the major national holidays in Indonesia. Lebaran holiday officially lasts for 2 days in the Indonesian calendar, although the government usually declares a few days before and after the Lebaran as a bank holiday. Many individuals or families, especially Muslims, take paid time off from their workplaces during these days. Hari Raya Idul Fitri is characterized as a time of happiness. It is known as Lebaran. Lebaran is a public holiday that allows Indonesians to spend time with their friends and family members after many months of working. While Hari Raya Idul Fitri is celebrated by Muslims of various nationalities, many of its traditions are unique to Indonesia. In Indonesia, Muslims practice the tradition of offering forgiveness to other people. Unlike many other Islamic practices, this practice does not come from the Quran. Instead, it comes from a fusion of Islamic and Javanese cultures in the 15th century CE. With regards to the scale of celebrations, Hari Raya Idul Fitri may be the largest Indonesian public holiday. Similar to how Christmas is celebrated in North America and Europe, Hari Raya Idul Fitri is not limited to a single day. Instead, many celebrations are combined over the course of many weeks for a season of festivities. June 26th, Sunthornpul Day. June 26th of every year is celebrated in Thailand as Sunthornpul Day. Sunthornpul is Thailand's best-known royal poet in the Ratanakosin era, in the reign of King Rama II. Every Thai student has to learn his poem at school. On Sunthornpul Day, students take part in writing competitions and listening to his poems. One of his poems, called Phra Aphaimani Poem, was one of the poems taught at school. It is about two princes getting banned from their palace by their father. During their journey, one of the brothers, Phra Aphaimani, is seduced by a beautiful woman who changes into a sea ogress. Later, he fell in love with a mermaid. They have a son named Sutsakorn. The sea ogress becomes jealous and goes after them. His brother, Sisuwan, and a couple of warriors want to rescue him. If you go to Samet Island, you can see the statue of Phra Aphaimani sitting by the mermaid near Sai Gao Beach and the statue of the sea ogress in front of the main pier. There are a few Thai films based on this popular legend, including The Adventure of Sutsakorn and The Legend of Sutsakorn. There is also a Thai comic series with the name Aphaimani Saga. Sunthornpul left behind a legacy of poems that have become famous over time because of their description of Thai history. In 1986, the 200th anniversary of his birth, Sunthornpul was honored by UNESCO as a Great World Poet. A statue of Sunthornpul was erected in Klang District, Rayong Province, the birthplace of his father.
And that wraps up ASEAN Calendar. Let's take a short break. Coming up next is ASEAN Interview. Stay tuned.
พักกันสักครู่ค่ะ
Welcome back. Coming up next is ASEAN Interview. Let's go take a look at what exciting news has come out today.
ใช่แล้วค่ะกลับเข้าสู่รายการ ASEAN Challenge ค่ะและในช่วงนี้นะคะ ASEAN Interview เรามีเทรนด์ใหม่ๆมาจากสิงคโปร์มาแนะนำให้กับท่านผู้ชมค่ะ
Late into the evening, a group of ant enthusiasts carrying torchlights scour under apartment building blocks in Singapore, looking for a six-legged tiny insect with wings and a swollen bottom, the prized queen ant. Depending on one's luck, it'll lay eggs and start a colony under the watchful eye of its keeper. Once the queen ant sheds her wings, she will lay eggs, which will be the worker ants. When their numbers are large enough, they can move into a formicarium, or an ant farm.
它就好像你有自己的宝宝一样，跟你讲哦，已经怀孕了，要准备好什么，又很紧张，怕出错，不小心新手啊，怕出错，不小心杀了它之类的就。
Ant keeping is a hobby that's catching on in the city-state. 29-year-old Chris Chan is a member of its Ant Singapore, a Facebook group that started in December last year and now boasts more than 300 members. In May, he started organizing ant hunting trips to teach people how to look, catch, and care for the tiny insects found in abundance in Singapore. While most ants are harmless, they're often regarded as pests, something Chen and his fellow ant enthusiasts are hoping to change. Chen remembers collecting them as a child and his passion for the hobby was reignited a year ago after watching a video on the insect. He even moved across the border to Johor Bahru in Malaysia in order to afford a spacious room to keep his collection, as rent is a third of that in Singapore. He now lives there with his girlfriend and her family. Chan has 20 to 30 ant colonies, comprising of hundreds of ants from 8 species. They're separated into around 10 different formicariums. Chan feeds the ants, which are omnivores, a range of food from honey to maggots. His favorite are the trap jaws, which he says are aggressive and challenging to breed. Chan, a part-time Uber driver, regularly answers questions about ants posted on the group's Facebook page and started a YouTube channel in hopes of reaching out to more people.
I want people to look at ants differently. Now a lot of people still think that ants is a pest, but with enough education, I can educate them that keeping ants can be safe, they can stay in the tank.
Chan has started selling formicariums and starter kits on the side and hopes that one day Singapore will be the region's go-to country for ant enthusiasts.
And that wraps up ASEAN Challenge for this week. We'll see you next week. But as for now, สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีค่ะ